Anybody fire any facts about rust? I'll put you on the spot. What do you know about rust? And what growth stages does it start to actually assume that more striped appearance?
Growth stage is probably somewhere closer to flat flagleaf, but during the stem elongation generally is the period where stripe rust will proliferate within crops and end up getting that stripe, so depending on the susceptibility of the variety.
So if you find it in the tillering stage, very often it's not striped. It can just be there as a collection of pustules on the leaf, so that's something to be aware of, because a lot of early stripe rust gets misidentified as leaf rust because it's not striped. If I said to you, well, let's have a closer look at this crop. Has it got head infection? Because this is a very susceptible cultivar. Anybody find any head infection? I don't think you'll find that it's got stripe rust in the head yet. Why has it not yet got stripe rust in the head? The interesting thing is, it's probably now the spores are already developing within the glooms. So if we look at the head structure, it's only just flowered. Only just flowered. But I think if we came back here in a week, 10 days time, we would find that we had already got some stripe rust pustules. And what will happen is that you'll look at them, and some of these spikelets will actually look whitish, or later on actually look orange, and suddenly you'll be aware that you've got stripe rust in the head. Now the interesting thing is, with a very susceptible cultivar, it will progress up quite easily. If you've got a good level of infection in the foliage, it will come up into the head. If I said to you that it's a biotrophic disease, what do you think that would mean?
It's a host.
It needs a living host. Yeah. So the other thing about this disease is that it's biotrophic. And the diseases that we could find in here will split into those two basic categories. You either need living tissue, or you have the necrotrophs. So the necrotrophic diseases are diseases that basically, when the spore, which we can't see with any of these diseases, when it lands on the leaf, it excretes an enzyme, destroys the tissue, and the fungus sucks up the soup to make more fungus. That's necrotrophs. Biotrophs actually require a living host. So this is why we talk about the green bridge for stripe rust, because it can't physically survive without actually having another living host to go to. It can be pretty dormant in those living hosts, mainly because it's too warm.
What if we had a really dry summer and no rain, say from November through to March, and there was no green host?
Well, it's been much talked about, that particular question, as to why, say in 2004, we seem to have no green bridge whatsoever, and yet we still got early infection. Now it's true to say that you can obviously, because they're wind-blown spores, you could have just one reservoir, one paddock, as a source of spores, that the fungus in that tissue, it may only just be green, and it may not be actively sporulating like you see here, but you only need one source. And they, with recent stem rust outbreaks in South Australia, they can almost be located back to a specific paddock, and that's the source of millions of spores. So even when it's very, very dry, have you exhausted all of those field margins, riparian areas where there might just be a small amount of moisture that just sustains some volunteers to keep the disease going?